People are always talking about how their favorite games are the best games of all time. But what about those games that they don't talk about? Like Radiata Stories. Radiata Stories is a super unique, fun, and quirky JRPG with a surprising amount of depth in the story, contrasted with, kicking your best friends, or a rock if your friends aren't around.
Kicking? Oh, I want to do some kicking!
This game has impact, but I don't want to be kicking myself for not checking it out again. Ha!
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So I replaced my crappy GameStop box with the real one, continued dusting off my old PS2 because it actually gets quite a bit of love these days, and started a new Game Plus to go down the route that I didn't the first time. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of retro games with a major dose of RPGs and nostalgia, then why don't you kick that subscribe button until it gets angry enough at you that it attacks you, regardless of the fact that you're a kid named after a dog. Also, don't forget to hit that like button and that notification bell. All right, let's get into it. Radiata Stories was published by Square Enix and came out back in 2005, which was this wild year for RPGs. You had games like Suikoden 4, Xenosaga Episode 2, Jade Empire, Romancing Saga, Pokemon Emerald, Sigma Star Saga, Fable, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, Digital Devil Saga 2, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Dragon Quest VIII, Final Fantasy IV Advance. Need I go on? All of this to say, this little gem from Tri-Ace and Square Enix flew way under the radar, for most people anyway. And it didn't really help that this only got a 74 on Metacritic. But that's because some grumpy gills over at Game Revolution gave this game a 42, which is quite possibly one of the worst takes of all time.
Come on, son.
The director, Naoki Akiyama, wasn't exactly a household name, but he should have been. After all, before Radiata, he helmed classics like Chirinko Hero and Star Ocean Blue Sphere and Digimon World. Now do you know who he is? Yeah, I didn't really either, but I do have Star Ocean. Thanks, Daniel! While this isn't exactly the resume that seems to prepare one for a sprawling 175-plus character fantasy RPG, he did have the entire Tri-Ace team at his side, and Tri-Ace is low-key one of my favorite old studios working with Square Enix. Whenever I saw Square Enix and Tri-Ace in the same intro, I was locked in. This is the team that gave us Star Ocean and Valkyrie Profile, with roots going all the way back to Namco's old Wolf team. The folks who originally worked on the Tales series, with the exception of Legendia and Innocence. I always wondered why Legendia seemed like such a different game. Tri-Ace kind of specialized in making these odd, ambitious RPGs that didn't always follow the genre rulebook, but still found an audience. Star Ocean gave us recruitment and decisions that matter. Valkyrie Profile was about recruiting dead characters to fight for Valhalla. So like Professor Utonium, these guys mixed the sugar, spice, and everything nice from their experience to make this game. And somehow Naoki's Japanese kart racing experience was the chemical X that resulted in this cult classic. One with an obsession with recruitable characters, a living world, and, well, kicking. Even total side NPCs felt like they mattered. Not to mention there were 175 recruitable characters. 175 is massive, like the percentage chance of you subscribing, right? Radiata Stories wasn't afraid to let you exist in this world to set the context for the overarching narrative. Sometimes that means talking to knights, sometimes that means kicking furniture, sometimes that means waiting a little bit longer than you expect for things to actually get going. You play as Jack Russell. Yes, the name is a dog joke that you don't really need to make because the game kind of makes it for you. Jack is the son of a famous knight who disappeared years ago after defeating this mighty dragon. And like a lot of protagonists in these games, his whole plan is basically follow in Dad's footsteps, find out what happened, stumble into something kind of insane. Except Jack isn't exactly leading man material. He's enthusiastic, he's overconfident, and wildly unprepared. Exactly the type of guy who thinks fighting a girl named Ridley will be super easy simply because she's a girl, and then 5 seconds later gets flattened and is face down on the floor.
Phrasing?
Jack is 100% the guy in your friend group that just rushes into boss fights without any plan at all.
Oh my god, he just ran in.
And that pretty much sets the tone. Yet, thanks to who his father was, Jack still gets inducted into the Radiata Knights anyway, which nepotism speedrun complete, making Jack the completely uninspired, normal dude that simply has some connections. And honestly, that's one of the things that makes this game so interesting in the long run. The early game is all about introducing you to Radiata's world, and it's a world that quietly does a lot of heavy lifting. Towns have daily routines, NPCs live their lives whether you're paying attention or not. The different races, humans, dwarves, elves, goblins, all live in their own tightly controlled pockets on the map. And Jack, being young and pretty oblivious, doesn't really grasp how much bad blood is under the surface. You'll see old battlefields, hear vague references to wars, and meet people whose problems run a lot deeper than your limited understanding of politics and history. And then there's the kick button. Technically, it's how you interact with objects, doors, chests, even people. It's goofy, but it fits the tone perfectly. Jack is a bit socially clueless. Sometimes the best way he knows how to get someone's attention is to, kick him. The first few missions are simple enough. Escort cargo, meet dwarves who want to raise prices, and stumble into diplomatic incidents you don't fully understand. But by the time you're negotiating with elves and watching your squad break apart after one disaster too many, it's clear this lighthearted JRPG isn't as shallow as it first looks. All these things combined made this one of the more fascinating JRPGs to survive the PS2 era, and it's an absolute classic. But don't just take my word for it. I asked Eli Farmer, one of my voice acting homies, who runs the Revive Radiata account on Twitter, why he would make such an account and put so much effort into bringing Radiata back.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Oh. Hello, this is Eli.
What's up, Eli? What's good, buddy?
Yo, Brandon, how's it going?
Listen, I'm gonna go check out Radiata Stories again, but I want to hear from you why Radiata is so good. You got that X account, Revive Radiata, so give it to me.
Radiata Stories? Dude, definitely. So for me, when I think of Radiata Stories, the word that always pops into my head is charm. From the music, to the setting, to the characters, Radiata Stories just has this way of charming you. And I think that's why fans remember it so fondly, because the characters are distinct. And I think that Radiata Stories has characters that feel real. They feel like people you'd actually want to be friends with, and they have real motivations and desires. And so yeah, I think that Radiata Stories' characters and its setting, that is its greatest strength, and that's why it stands out in my mind. Unfortunately, I don't feel that it got the attention it deserved when it was released, but hey, you never know, that could change sometime in the future. But yeah, anytime you want to talk Radiata Stories, I'm your guy.
Yeah, man, that sounds about right to me. It sounds about how I remember it. So I have to go check it out and see how it still holds up. And for all of you out there, go check out Eli on X at Revive Radiata. Let's go. There is a small and mighty group who will rave about this game, myself included. And this one needs more attention if we ever hope to get a port, remaster, remake, whatever. So I dove back into this roughly 40-hour game, which can be much longer if you're crazy like me, and this was my experience. The first few hours of Radiata Stories are like jumping into a Saturday morning cartoon, except you're not really the hero, you're the guy who thinks he is and immediately gets his butt handed to him. You're just this kid living with your sister, waking up in this dusty house on the outskirts of town, getting dressed with the excitement of someone who has no idea how far over his head he's about to be.
Hey sis, where's breakfast?
Jack Russell's big plan? Follow in Daddy's footsteps, join the Radiata Knights, and become a legend. The problem is, Jack's got the confidence of a shonen protagonist, but none of the skill. The only thing sharper than his sword is his complete lack of self-awareness. Flora, his clearly overworked and underappreciated caretaker, tries to give him what he needs to succeed, including his lunch, but he just wakes up late, forgets his lunch, and runs out, possibly never to return. Then we shift to the marble halls of Radiata Castle. Gleaming stone floors, soaring music, all these hopeful recruits standing in line, and Jack just barges in like he owns the place. This is his moment. Cue the Ridley fight. Jack talks big, steps up, and gets folded like laundry. One swing and down. The game wastes no time humbling you. You are Jack in this grand adventure. So much for a power fantasy. But even though he gets flattened, that last name gets him in anyway. And once in, he gets assigned to a new squad, the Rose Cochon, or, the pink pig. I love this game. Along with his new arch nemesis Ridley
Good grief. Would it kill you to be on time?
What was that?
and the lovable Gantz.
This will be one blood-tingling, rip-roaring adventure.
And this kicks off our adventure where we start back in Jack's quarters. But before being sent off to some training missions, you get to run around kicking furniture and bullying a guy for coins. And this kick button is how you interact with everything, like I said. Doors, barrels, people. Jack just kind of drop kicks his way through life. So if you thought this was just a gimmick, no. This is fundamental to the entire game, and it fits the tone perfectly. From there, you're off doing Baby Knight's first missions, delivering a package to dwarves, walking a dude named Genius, to a flower city, play messenger between elves who don't like you, and these quests are simple, sure, but the world you're walking through is gorgeous. Pre-rendered backgrounds, chunky character models, and towns full of movement. NPCs go to bed, stores close, time matters. And along the way, of course, you get your first taste of combat. It's still light at this point. You mash a few combos, block with timing, maybe unlock your first custom moves. But really, this part of the game isn't about the battles, it's about the tone. There's this moment early on when you first reach the dwarf town and they talk about raising trade prices on humans. And Jack doesn't really understand the tension, but you start to get it. There's history here. The world has friction, even if your protagonist is too young and too dumb to notice.
I wouldn't talk to you too much if I were you. Idiocy is contagious.
But right when you start to think that this game is all low-stakes errands and cartoon shenanigans, things start to shift. You're sent to broker a meeting between the humans and the Light Elves by visiting the Dark Elves first. Classic plan, 10 out of 10. Then a Blood Orc attacks. Chaos breaks out and Ridley gets impaled right in front of you while you're trying to defend the mission. She gets saved, barely, by a Dark Elf ritual that has never been performed on a human before. A magical emergency procedure that stabilizes her but leaves her changed. Her father, Lord Jasne, is furious. This wasn't protocol, this wasn't approved, and even though it saved her life, it wasn't done without his say. And that'll give you a sense of how some of these characters are.
I'm sorry. You bring back my Ridley like this, and that's all you can say?
The fallout is swift and cold. The Rose Kashan Brigade is disbanded. Ridley gets promoted against her will. She didn't earn it, she sees the nepotism, and she hates it. Jack and Gantz... Is it Gantz? I'm second guessing. Hold on. It's Gans. Why did I say Gantz? Oh, shoot. Jack and Gans get kicked out of the Knights entirely. One mistake, one diplomatic misstep, and just like that, your brief fantasy of rising through the ranks is over. For now. And it hurts, because Jack didn't mean to screw up. He just wanted to find his dad, be a knight, do something with his life. Instead, he's left standing in the cold with Gans, no direction, no status, no home. This is kind of the first time that Radiata hits you in the chest. You're down, but you're not out yet. It's time to regroup, and Gans, ever the straight-laced knight, immediately heads to the Warriors Guild Theater Vancour, the city's proper combat organization, where he thinks that he can still serve with honor. And of course, Jack tags along. You think, all right, we're getting back in the game here. Jack somehow gets accepted into Theater Vancour, and you're introduced to a new set of colorful characters, like your drunk Captain Jarvis and your very clumsy doofus coworker named Daniel, as well as Gerald and Elwyn, which are some of the most epic characters and powerful warriors in the game. And in classic Jack fashion, when Elwyn sees potential in him, he just jumps straight to overconfidence, just to be humbled again by Elwyn, who calls him weak. And this is when Elwyn kind of hits you with one of the core themes of the story that carries all the way through to the end. This is the first time that Jack is truly confronted about his goals and his aspirations. Up till now, he was all about becoming great like his father, being the best knight, becoming a legend, but now he's faced with a hard truth. None of those things will bring him true strength, nor will his confidence. And then we get hit with the next major loss.
So you passed.
Easy peasy.
That tubby guy you came with failed.
Too old, too rigid, not flexible enough for guild work. They don't even let him try out. And suddenly, Gans, this mountain of a man who's been your rock, your rules guy, your walking code of honor, has nothing left. So he leaves quietly, says he needs time, says it's for the best. And then it's just you, Jack Russell, former knight, currently unemployed, and now officially solo in a world that's way bigger than you realized. This moment is small, quiet. Gans tries to put on his brave face, but there's no dramatic explosion, no boss fight, but it lands. Because Jack wasn't just demoted, he lost his mentor, his friend, the one guy who was keeping him grounded so far, and now, well, you're a nobody now. And this is where the game really starts to open up. Because what better way to learn how to fight for someone else than to choose from 175 recruitable characters, baby? But here's the thing. This game actively pushes back against your gotta catch 'em all tendencies, which feels a bit personal, Square.
Give me a break.
Because even with a guide, there is no way to recruit every single character in a single playthrough. And believe me, I tried. Radiata Stories doesn't treat recruitment like a Pokédex where you can catch and store your characters and put them in a dubious machine and pretend like they're somehow happy. It treats it like earning trust. These people aren't waiting around for you to show up and save the world. They have lives, jobs, schedules. Most of them don't know who you are, and frankly, they don't care. Also, you don't really throw a Pokeball at these people, but you follow them, observe, do some favors, meet requirements, and even then, some of them just don't want anything to do with you. This game is low-key brilliant about this. It flips the power fantasy on its head. Instead of assemble the team to save the world, it's convince anyone willing to listen that you are worth teaming up with at all. Some characters join if you do a side quest, some require that you do some work for a specific guild, some only appear at certain hours of the day. Another didn't even pay attention to me, so I kicked him, beat him up, and suddenly we're friends, because, Radiata logic, you know? Eventually this game will go down one of two paths, human or non-human. We'll get to that later, but recruitment is best done with this in mind. For this playthrough, I wanted to go down the non-human path since I'd already done the human path back in the day. So while it was good to recruit some humans early on who were stronger in combat or had an accessory I could use, it was also good for me to focus on getting characters like Romeria, who is one of the better non-human healers. And Romeria's easy. Find her, kick her, win, and done. She's now in your party. And then there were characters like Hyann. Why? Why would you do this, Square? Hyann is a dark elf who is so obnoxious to recruit. He has a gambling game, and you have to win 4 times in a row, winning the 10,000 Daggles bet. Not only does this mean that you need to save and try over and over and over and over again to get lucky, but he's not even that good. Like, why is this so freaking hard? Everything's fine, I'm fine. You're fine, we're fine. It's good.
Oh, I hate you.
Anyway, who you recruit also makes a difference in battle. While I wouldn't argue that any specific characters are needed to beat this game, some characters can of course give you an advantage pretty early on. And you definitely want one of those healers. Each character has set stats, attacks, and equipment, and some of the accessories that they come equipped with are definitely worth checking out. Aiden, for example, while not being an incredible character, does come with a training device that gives you an extra 25% experience in battle. So snagging him early on can reduce the grind a bit, but he'll be vastly outshined later on. And some characters come with Volti Blast, your classic limit break type attack that can go a long way in later game fights. But Radiata Stories doesn't let you control your party directly in battle, which is either refreshing or mildly infuriating depending on your tolerance for chaos. Once you get your party together, you can eventually set formations, you can do these plain link attacks, and you can build teams around elemental affinities or skill chains. The game never really tells you who's good either. You either figure it out through trial and error and a lot of post-battle grumbling, or you look over and say, hey, that guy looks cool, I want to recruit him. But that's kind of the charm, honestly. Radiata Stories treats combat like it treats recruitment. It's kind of messy, personality-driven, and just structured enough to keep you hooked. And if you're like me, you'll probably do exactly what I just said. Look at a character, see how cool they look, and decide to go after them. But if you're going the human route, I would highly recommend getting Lily as fast as possible. She was awesome. She can show up in this date scene later in the human route if she's in your party for long enough. 10 out of 10. Would recruit again. Of course, if you recruit her and go the non-human route, then you are going to be devastated. As the story ramps up, so does the importance of your party. Quests start throwing harder fights your way, enemies hit faster, bosses come with multiple phases, and if you're not building smart, you're gonna feel it. And by smart, I mean just get a good healer. Seriously, getting a good healer could carry you through this game. Meanwhile, the story just kind of simmers. The city gets tense, Ridley's back, alive but different, she barely speaks to anyone. Her promotion feels hollow. The powers that be, including her father Jasnay, starts pushing more aggressively for military control. Tensions with the non-humans increase. Orcs start showing up. And the game doesn't really tell you what's coming. And then Ridley shows up at your doorstep, wanting to talk. She's not prepared with her normal snappy comebacks, and it leaves Jack concerned.
What's up? Don't tell me you're out of snappy comebacks.
Guess so.
But, as the goofball that he is, he's determined to listen and quotes the Knights' charter that Knights of the same brigade are as family, even though he isn't a knight. And it's at this point where Jack, or you, must make a choice. To follow Ridley, or to meet at the castle. Since this was my New Game Plus, I knew this was coming and decided to follow Ridley instead of meeting Larks at the castle. And I had prepared as much as I could. But if you're playing this for the first time, you start to understand what Radiata Stories is really doing here. It's not just giving me a party or giving me a path to assemble the best team because the story demands it. It's giving you a living, breathing world. And you may find yourself recruiting because you care. You find characters and their concerns interesting, what they reveal, who they are, who they're connected to, why they're acting the way they do. It hints at something much bigger going on. And this context makes the decisions here all the harder. Maybe you've seen the corruption at the highest levels of the different guilds, especially the Olashian Order, where you see it pretty early on. But you've made friends with so many other human characters, and it doesn't really impact you that much. Or maybe you've spent time with the dwarves and elves and see their concerns about humans and how they relate, and you start to become sympathetic about their desire for peace and survival. Up till now, it may not have been more than an interesting set of background information, but at this point, you're forced to grapple with all of it, whether you like it or not. And once the split hits and the factions turn on each other, who you can bring with you immediately changes. You don't just lose access to certain characters, they leave your party. They stop talking to you. In some cases, they will fight you and not say a single word to indicate the time that you spent together mowing down giant ants. So I will say this one time and only one time. If you are going down the human route, ignore Hyann. Don't do it to yourself. You don't need that kind of pain in your life. You don't need to do the gambling game. Just ignore him. You'll thank me later. And from here, of course, the game branches into its infamous two paths. Two endings, one choice. You either stand with the humans or you defy them. And there's no going back. And honestly, there's not really a right answer here. And all of that will kind of creep up on you through side quests and eavesdropping and some cutscenes. Now, this is just the setup for the game, and I don't want to go into too much details about the two endings because you should experience that for yourself. But if you're concerned about any spoilers from here on out, then skip to this timestamp. I'm going to keep it spoiler-lite, though. All right, ready? Go. In general, here's how the two shake out. First, you have the human path ending where you stay loyal to the Radiata Knights, lose access to your non-human friends, and protect the interests of humanity. You'll end up saving the kingdom, of course, because this is a JRPG, but the cost will leave you stunned. There's no clear-cut victory here, as the decision and path brings even Jack to realize that he's stuck with the decision whether he likes it or not. And then there's the non-human path, where you defect and stand for the other races. You'll fight your former friends, get caught up in an ancient prophecy, and the ending leaves you with just as many questions as when you first started. At the end of the day, this is what confused me a bit about the game. For a game that is so silly and lighthearted as this one, how it could turn so dark so quick can be a little bit jarring. But I think that's what makes this game so interesting. Going from Jack having very selfish and self-serving goals, becoming a knight and gaining legendary status like his dad, to learning the weight of leadership, the weight of decision-making that comes with cost, that what he decides will burn bridges and it will sit with him for the rest of his life. It's sobering, but it teaches Jack what it means to be mature, what it means to grow, what it means to be a leader, to realize that no decision is perfect. There will always be bad actors, and you can never win everyone over. It flips the entire concept of the friend list on its head. No matter what you do in this game, you can never get every single character on the friends list. Even in the New Game Plus, you can register every entry for completionists, but Jack the character will never fully see all of those characters together. And while I have a deep appreciation for how real and thought-provoking this game can get, I'm not gonna lie, I want my golden ending for this one. If Square were ever to remaster or remake this one, and you should, Square, there are dozens of us. I would love to see them take from some of the extended lore where you can get a golden ending and you can out some of the actual villains and take them down before things get worse. There is a manga that kind of gives us a golden ending. The Epic of Jack, from what I could find. I won't go into details to avoid spoilers, but Square could totally pull from this, get it into the game, add some quality of life features, and we'd have ourselves an epic remake on our hands. All right, and once you get past the ending and your heart has recovered, the post-game content adds in some amazing options, in my opinion, because I love New Game Plus that carries those stat increases over. To be specific, the post-game lets you access a bonus dungeon where you can fight high-level enemies, some bosses straight out of other Tri-Ace games. Oh, and you know, Valkyrie Lenneth, let's go! You can also get stat-boosting berries that carry over, as well as some items such as the Tri-Emblem that you can get from defeating the Ethereal Queen that will increase all of Jack's parameters. Skills, money, and some other items will transfer as well. And if you want to, you have the ability to finish recruitment chains that you might have missed before the last boss. And this is where the game goes from this fun little JRPG to how deep does this rabbit hole go anyway? You could start min-maxing your team like it's competitive Pokemon. You can equip elemental resist charms, unlock ultimate weapons, and get some more of those sweet, sweet Valkyrie profile references, including, like I said, Lenneth herself. As a side note, Tri-Ace used to make these kinds of crossover references all the time, and I loved it. Same thing in Star Ocean 3. Bring that one back too, Square. I spent hours getting stat increase berries and playing through this dungeon to start my New Game Plus and go down the non-human path, that once I started New Game Plus, Jack was just an absolute monster. Otherwise, you'll still see all of your old recruited characters in the notebook, but you will need to recruit them again. And unfortunately, that means that you can't bring Valkyrie with you to slaughter those early game giant ants. But Jack will be great. So of course, all of this makes the replay value for this game very high. You can build up for each run, eventually get so ridiculous that you can slice through this game like butter. If only there was a third path to go down. Square. If you wanted to play this game and go all in, I would recommend an approach where you first go down the full human path, do the bonus dungeon, get those berries, then the full non-human path, and then maybe another full run just for kicks and giggles if you want to try to recruit all the rest of the characters that you missed. You will absolutely miss characters in your first playthrough. That's by design. Unless you play with a spreadsheet taped to your face, there's no way you're going to see it all. Radiata Stories won't just encourage replay, but it's a game that will stick with you for years down the road. You'll not only want to play it again, but you'll probably want to make a video about it as an excuse to go down that extra path that you might have missed because you love it so much and you just really wanted to be back in that world. But as much as I love this game, it's not perfect. I mean, first you have those endings. Look, I respect emotional storytelling, but again, going from hours of charming kick-based gameplay with silly character interactions and then getting an ending like this Shakespearean tragedy is likely to give you whiplash. If you think about it and what Radiata is trying to do, I think it's consistent, and I do think it makes sense for the character Jack and the player, and I'm here for it, but I mean, I'm not really surprised when this game gets criticized for its tonal shift. Next, the time-based system. Having NPCs on a schedule is brilliant, and it made the world feel way more alive than I expected, but not giving players the ability to track those schedules effectively, that one's just rough. On one hand, again, I think it's intentional because nobody cares about Jack and you're meant to feel that as the player, but I'd love to see an easier way to go about some of that stuff in the game. We need a calendar or a quest log or a hint system or something. Maybe just a guy in the town square being like, hey, she's at the bakery at 4 p.m. Because I did want to recruit as many characters as I possibly could, which basically meant I was living in game FAQs like it was 2006 again. I haven't bookmarked that many forum posts since I was trying to get all the characters in Suikoden 2 without destroying my brain. Oh wait, that was recent. Because Konami decided to remaster games that we actually love, Square. Okay, I can't even joke about Square Enix not giving us remasters. They've been going crazy lately. I just really hope this one someday makes the cut. But in the meantime, we're getting Final Fantasy Tactics, am I right? And finally, the battle system. Look, I like the combat, I really do, but it could have been deeper. More commands, more enemy variety, maybe a bit more party commands or smarter AI, something just to add a bit more depth. And the Volti attacks, they are cool, but they're kind of limited. I would have loved more options, like combining moves with party members or something like Chrono Trigger would have been amazing. Okay, and the last thing I'll say about this stuff is Valkyrie. Valkyrie should be able to come with you in New Game Plus. Like, once you get her, that's so awesome. She's so powerful, it's so cool, and then that's it? Come on. All that said, this game has a lot going on for it, and I think a lot of it's often overlooked. It just oozes personality from every corner. The music is lighthearted and whimsical with just enough emotional depth when the plot starts to get heavy. The visuals are stylized in a way that still holds up surprisingly well, even by today's standards. And I laughed out loud multiple times, even though I've played this game before. From Jack's clueless bravado to NPCs reacting to being kicked like it's just part of their day. The entire world feels like it's in on the joke, and I often had a smile on my face playing through this game again.
That's your bed back there. When you're done with the death whales, come in and get changed.
And sure, the combat can be pretty simple, but the ability to swap weapons, string together skills, and build your party from a massive pool of weirdos is kind of amazing. And I loved the recruitment system overall. Every time you actually get a new character on your friends list, it feels like discovering some secret. Some are powerful, some are weird, and some are just, Clive.
Hello.
And it encourages actual exploration. You're not just sprinting from cutscene to cutscene, you're soaking in the world. Eavesdropping, following NPCs around like a stalker with noble intentions. It's true JRPG behavior. And I still don't understand why no other game has the kicking mechanic. Kicking to interact should be the new standard. Peak game design. Miyamoto wishes he thought of this. So if I was in full creative control of a Radiata Stories remake, here's what I'd do for the aptly named Radiata Stories Ultimate Gold High Jump Kick Edition. For some quality of life updates, NPCs would get a schedule tracker. There would be quest logs with actual information. New Game Plus with a golden ending that allows you to bring Valkyrie along. And of course, a speed up option for things like exploring and backtracking. And then for combat enhancements, I'd probably do something like smarter AI in general, skill trees, or some other depth for Jack and the party members. Maybe add an extra weapon type. I don't know, give me a frying pan class, I don't care. But even if we could just play this game again on something that's not the PS2, that would be amazing. So if it's not clear, this game is still very good in my opinion, absolutely worth playing, and I hope that some of you will. Is it flawed? Of course. But it's still one of the most lovable, funny, charming, and memorable JRPGs I've ever played. Without a doubt. Find a way to play this game. Original PS2, emulator, arcane summoning ritual, I don't care, just play it. And I'll be screaming from the rooftops if we ever see an announcement from Square about a remake or a remaster or whatever. So let me know in the comments if you have played this game, what you thought about it, and who your favorite character was. Subscribe for more retro JRPG content, underrated classics, and weird games that deserve a second shot, like these. And of course, I'm not done yet. I'm still kicking. Ha! Okay, I'll let myself out now. See ya.